Hey, just welcome to the MI community meeting. This is the meeting that we have every Sunday, every first Sunday of the month. Glad that you're here. We have a special guest today. We have Dr. Alena Candova, and she's going to talk about the nervous system and lifestyle and nutrition and how that affects our nervous system. So what I'm going to do is do a little bit of mindfulness before we start so we can get ourselves more grounded, so we can listen better, just take in the information better. So I just invite you to close your eyes while I get some music started here. Just kind of relax into where you are. Just noticing the body, noticing your breath, feeling into this exact moment right where you are. Noticing how the breath goes in and out of the body. Just take a deep breath in for me through the nose and let it out with a sigh. Another deep breath in through the nose, letting it out with a sigh, just letting everything go. Just relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, relaxing your hips, feeling into the soles of your feet, letting that energy just ground right into the center of the earth. Feeling that energy of the earth grounding you all the way down. Just letting your body melt even more into the chair, knowing that it's supporting you just as the ground is supporting you, just as the earth is supporting you, all the way down. Feeling into your heart center, feeling into this meeting, into this room, into this space, and being open to whatever comes up during this conversation, being open and receptive to it. And then just invite you back into the space. All right. How's everybody doing now? All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Alena Candova, and she can get this started.
Thank you, Tas. Isn't it incredible how in such a short time we can calm our nervous system and start experiencing this life from a totally different state of being, more open, more receptive. So this is really beautiful. I'm gonna share my screen with you all because I have a little slide. I know some of us are more visual. So let me just do that here. Right here. And so for today, I thought maybe a good place to start or good thing to share with you all is how diet and lifestyle help our nervous system. Are you all familiar with the importance of regulating our nervous system? And have you used any tools previously, like maybe breath work? Yeah. Okay. So most of us are familiar with quick tools like taking a couple of deep breaths or grounding through our feet or getting into our body to kind of find a little bit more ease in a stressful moments. And so my first slide here, I want to bring our attention to the fact that there's two ways we can use our regulation tools. Okay, there's this quick first aid when we find ourselves in a stressful situation and we know we have a couple of tools that work for us. And we can use those in a moment to kind of cope and deal with the difficulty more effectively. What I like to put bigger emphasis on is using our tools on a regular basis so we can actually use this beautiful neuroplastic power of our brain and our nervous system And we can train our nervous system to start operate from more what I call a flexible state, from more of a safety anchor, which not only helps us deal with stress in a given moment, but it's also preparing us to feel safe on an unconscious level so we can start processing whatever has not been resolved in a background, usually in our subconscious. So regulating on a daily basis is really creating a beautiful and powerful neuroplastic change in our whole nervous system, in our brain, and it helps us on so many levels. Okay, so practice, practice, practice. Whatever you know, hopefully this will encourage you to start implementing, and then I'll share a couple of other things, practices with you. And I'm trying to move my slide down and it's not letting me. Here we go. All right, so what I really like to focus on as well, mainly because not many people talk about this. There's a lot of talk about regulating through the vagus nerve, through breathing and other approaches, cold water exposure, is diet. We all eat every day, number of times a day. And so diet is really important. There's a connection between our gut and brain called the gut-brain axis, and one affects the other. And so if we are in a bad mood or our brain health is not optimal, it will affect the functioning of our gut. And vice versa, if we are eating processed foods, if we've been on antibiotics for a long time, the gut microbiome is not in an optimal balance, then that will affect our mood and our behavior. Okay, so a really complex cycle here. Okay, I've put a couple of notes here to stress the importance of the gut health here. The vagus nerve, which is the main nerve of the part of our system that allows us to feel relaxed and safe, and that initiates all the healing processes in our body, travels between the brain and the gut. And 80% of those fibers of the vagus nerve actually travel from the gut up to the brain. So really, really crucial to start looking after our digestive system. Okay, 95% of the serotonin, which is the feel-good neurotransmitter, is produced in our gut as well. So super, super important information here as well. In the studies, a number of studies, it's been shown that people with depression have actually altered microbiota. It's a different microbiota to healthy people. Okay, so an interesting observation here. And then when we speak about the microbiota that actually assist the healthy production of serotonin, the healthy communication with the brain, imbalanced microbiota is also what's affecting the GABA neurotransmitter, which we can think of as that calming molecule in our system. People with anxiety, for example, have lower GABA levels in their system. And so a lot is happening here. Okay, so very important. I'm just gonna move on. And so since we are talking about diet and foods, these are the foods that your nervous system loves. There's a list, it's simplified, but it's complete enough. It will give you an idea of the foods that your nervous system, your brain really loves. And before we go through that, I also wanted to address the importance of conscious eating, right? Like really taking a time, putting the phone away, taking a time to spend that moment at your meal just with your food. And then meaning of the prayer. A lot of the times people may not eat with their phones now, but there is always a chatter about the latest news and the crisis here and crisis there. And this is all sending our nervous system into a protection mode. And when our nervous system is in a stress mode because we are complaining about what's happening in the world, it will not digest our food. It will not accept the nutrients that we are given it through the food. And so I really like the original meaning of prayer, which is basically just to bring us in the current moment, into the present moment, and bring gratitude into our nervous system, into our minds before we start eating. So really important piece of, or part of the ritual of our of our consumption of food. Okay, so forgetting about everything negative that's happening on the outside and just practicing gratitude for that moment. Just another beautiful part, like where can I insert my gratitude practice? Right with your food, right with your meal. And so the brain and the nervous system, they love fat. The brain is mainly fat. And so we have to think about giving it good fats like omega 3s that are found in krill and sardines and mackerel and wild salmon. For people that don't really like fish, chia seeds and flax, and to some aspect in walnuts as well. So omega 3s are really crucial also because they are acting as anti-inflammatory molecules. There's a lot of inflammation that's happening in the Western world. A lot of that is a systemic kind of hidden inflammation in our bodies. So we want to invite and introduce foods that actually fight that inflammation. So omega 3s, you can also buy these in supplement form. Vitamin D, okay, again, oily fish, liver, beef liver, always recommend buying organic grass-fed liver or any meat if you can. Vitamin D also comes from sunlight exposure. A lot of us are bunkered in offices and working from home, and we don't get enough sun. So getting at least 15 to 20 minutes of sun per day, getting out there, getting fresh air, getting in the sun. Probiotics, we spoke about the microbiome of the gut. Which basically we are more bacteria than we are humans. And so bringing in the good guys through probiotic foods, not just through supplements, because a lot of the supplements have actually not been formulated in enough of an advanced way, and they die in a process in our stomach acid. So we want to think about introducing probiotic foods like fermented vegetables, kimchi and sauerkraut. Okay, and every time I speak about this, I get a little bit of pushback from people because a lot of people don't like these. And there's two reasons. Because their gut microbiome doesn't like it, because there's a lot of bad guys and we get bloated as a result. Or and then of course those little bacteria then control what our taste buds like. And so training ourselves, practicing little by little, right? Starting with these foods, especially with the fermented vegetables, slowly. If I find that it's bloating me, okay, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna introduce a teaspoon. I'm gonna start and build up slowly. Maybe I'll find a probiotic supplement that will help me build up probiotic bacteria so I can start accepting those fermented vegetables. And when you guys go out there and buy these, they have to be unpasteurized. So looking for these in the fridge in your local store or supermarket, they have to be raw ferments. So those bacteria are alive. Another great option and more digestible, easier to stomach for most people, it's natural yogurt, organic yogurt. Okay, here if you go for cow milk, I always recommend A2 source because that's easier. On a molecular basis, it's just easier for our digestion. Okay, so looking at that label, A2 cow milk, A2 yogurt, or goat milk or sheep milk yogurt. Okay, so fermented foods, really, really important. Now, since we're introducing probiotics and the bacteria needs to eat. And so we want to feed the bacteria with good fiber, like dandelion greens are really great, apples and bananas and artichokes, a lot of greens basically. So that bacteria has food and they survive. So a lot of fiber. Okay, healthy fats other than omega 3s are avocado. So avocado oil, cooking with avocado oil is great because it has a high burn temperature. We can even fry with it. Olives, so olive oil, organic grass-fed butter and ghee. Okay, there's been a lot of notion out there butter is not good for you. Butter is much better for us than any of the other vegan alternatives that are full of seed oils. that are actually creating inflammation in our system. So good quality butter, good quality ghee, coconut oil, and raw nuts. Magnesium is another molecule that's really important for the health of our nervous system. In anxiety, it's been seen that the magnesium is depleted. In people with imbalance in cortisol level, the same thing. And then we can also see magnesium deficiency if we experience like muscle cramps. So magnesium plays a really important role in conduction of the nerve impulse. So magnesium, fun place to get it from is dark chocolate. And when I say dark, I mean 85% plus. So it has to be dark. The 70% just doesn't cut it. Too much sugar. Okay. Amaranth, cooked spinach, black beans, sunflower seeds, loads of other options for magnesium. They also sell really, really great magnesium supplement in a form of spray that you can spray on your skin, usually in a thighs or a tummy. That works really fabulous. And it doesn't give you diarrhea or any other side effects that taking magnesium orally can do. Okay, B vitamins, again, another super important vitamin for the health of the nervous system. So either supplementing, a lot of the times it's really difficult to get B12 from our food. So either supplementing B12 and then making sure that we have enough foods like liver or beef, chicken, avocados, or salmon, lentils as well, eggs also. I'll speak about testing in a minute. So B vitamins, really crucial for our brain and nervous system. Now, what's really important too, and I am to blame here as well, I kind of get, and I think we all get into this routine of buying the same veggies, buying the same apples, kind of eating similar foods. And so for the diversity of our microbiome, it's really important to introduce variety, right? Like mix it up, get different types of salad, get different types of apples. We should be eating 30 different vegetables and fruits in a week. Okay, so that sounds like a lot, but just get curious and excited about mixing things up a little bit. Okay, so that's our foods that our nervous system loves.
So there was just a quick question.
Yeah.
Joe is asking about what is A2? What is that?
So A2, a lot of the a lot of the cows nowadays, especially here in the States, have been bred in a way that it's nearly like mutation. There's the gene is mutated within the cattle, within the cows. So the A2 is supposed to be like the original old European breed. And read a lot of studies on this, but I've also witnessed through working with clients one-on-one that there is actually a difference for people that when it's in a fermented state, the milk it may be not as palpable, noticeable. But I have a couple of clients that like to put a milk in their coffee, and they will not budge and change to another, like to alternative milk. And just swapping to A2 milk from standard organic milk really helped their digestive system. They've noticed that there's less bloating. It was just more easily digestible for them. So just try it, right? Like I want to, when I'm recommending things to people, I want to highlight the best that I've experienced and that I've researched and that I'm seeing that my clients are also having direct experience with. Yeah, more and more brands are selling it too, from what I'm seeing here in California. Yeah. So thank you, Tess. I'm unable to see everyone. Yeah. And so another important thing I want to mention here is that stress, whether it's chronic stress because we have busy lifestyle, or whether it's stress that's silently running at the back of our conscious mind and our nervous system because of unresolved trauma, or unresolved whatever might have happened during our earlier lives. The effects of stress on our physiology is great because it depletes vitamin and mineral stores in our system. And as we've already mentioned, it alters the gut microbiome, which plays a huge role as well. And it alters the expression of neurotransmitters. And so it doesn't really matter how clean and well we may be eating. The other part of the puzzle here is the fact that the soil is much more depleted than it was when we were all growing up. And so the foods may not have the nutritional density that they had 40 years ago, they had 20 years ago. And so it's really important to get tested for deficiencies. And this can be done just with your general practitioner, an allopathic practitioner, just go for a blood test and have them look at your B vitamins, your D3, all these listed minerals like zinc and selenium and magnesium, and have a look at your function of white blood cells, leukocytes, that could point to some underlying hidden infection that may not be detectable otherwise, at kidney and liver function, cholesterol and glucose. But most importantly, it's really about the deficiencies because, just using my personal story as an example, I have eaten natural homemade foods always, ever since I can remember, since I started cooking 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And I was deficient in a lot of these vitamins and minerals. And so making sure that you stay on top of that, that you know whether there is a deficiency that was maybe caused by stress, maybe by malabsorption in your system. And attending to that is going to really help the nervous system as well. And then, of course, figuring out if there is anything that you may be intolerant to, right? Testing for food intolerances that may be creating some havoc in your system now. And with those, I always recommend, if there is something like that, to go and work with a qualified person like a naturopath or functional doctor that can help you get off these foods and then maybe reintroduce them once the gut health is reset. Because a lot of the times when we intolerant something, there may be an emotion component. I have seen a lot of my clients that come up with all sorts of food intolerances, but there was an emotional memory attached to that, right? Like maybe you were having ice cream when you were 5 and your parents fought and then they got divorced. And 20 years later, there is a intolerance or allergy to milk, dairy, or sugar because that memory wakes up for whatever reason. And so all sorts of different reasons for those issues that can come up in our life. So again, really important knowing if you're deficient in one area and supplementing if possible.
All right, one more question from
Yeah.
Joe. He said, is that different than allergy testing? And I would imagine so, because we're just looking at the levels, right?
Yeah. So allergy testing will be different than testing for deficiencies. Or did you mean intolerance testing? Is it different than allergy?
He was talking about deficiencies, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, intolerance slash allergy, they kind of the same family, but they manifest a lot differently. They be different than deficiencies. Yeah. It'd be a completely different test that your allopathic doctor probably is not able to do, but the deficiencies you can just see in the lab of your allopathic doctor. Okay, and that makes me bring up this slide for you, which when we go to our general practitioner, just allopathic standard medicine, the tests, the windows of what's considered normal are really, really wide. And so this image is actually taken from a naturopathic website, and they bringing awareness to the fact that normal blood results are not the optimal for you because we are all so very different. And so what may be considered normal in the allopathic world may actually not be normal for you. And so when we're looking at our results, if you're in the middle somewhere, that's great. But if you on either side of that normal towards the end range, I would highly suggest to investigate. Find a naturopath, or if you're not on any medication, if you're not dealing with underlying condition, then get on those supplements. Well, oh, I am on a lower range of my B12. Okay, I'm gonna supplement with B12. Again, for those that are experiencing chronic health conditions, or if you are guys on medication, consult your doctor first. And if they feel like, oh, you're still in a normal range and you do want to go deeper, find a natural, like a holistic doctor, find a naturopath, and you'll be able to dive deeper with them because their testing is much more specific to your unique self and where you at and what's happening and what you're doing in your life. So really important information as well. All right, who here loves coffee? No, okay. One or more a day. Okay. So maybe this group is just one coffee a day because I don't see everyone. Um, Maybe you guys know someone that needs more. Okay. So I just wanted to put this in because coffee is not a friend of our nervous system. You probably all experience these jitters and this activation that it can happen after having a cup of coffee. So there's a couple of things that's really helpful to know. And one of them is that coffee actually interferes with a neurotransmitter in our nervous system that's called adenosine, which adenosine's role is to fluctuate during the day. And as we wake up, it builds up, the levels rise, and it helps us to be awake and more alert. And then at the end of the day, the levels fall, and that helps us to prepare to go to sleep and rest. When we have a coffee first thing in the morning, that caffeine binds to these receptors of the adenosine, and it stimulates, increase the nerve activity artificially. Okay, and so that kind of blocks the adenosine's ability to continue to climb naturally where it should be climbing to during the day, and it makes us feel like we need another cup of coffee. And so waiting for 90 minutes in the morning, it's really helpful because it gives the body the chance to get that natural rise going, and if possible, getting a little bit of a natural light as well. And then starting the day with warm water, or if possible, warm water with lemon and honey, or even adding a cayenne is going to really help the digestion. It's really help the liver. Okay, drinking warm water with lemon in the morning, it's a great flush for the liver, great wake up call for the liver, which has so many important functions in our system. Detoxification, hormonal balance, a lot of things go on in our liver. And then for those that feel like can't survive the 90 minutes without their coffee, we have a coffee breath. There is a breathing technique that we can use to get our nervous system more stimulated without the side effects of the caffeine. In the yoga tradition, it's called Kapalabhati, the breath of fire. And it's also really great for stimulating our digestion and waking up our digestive system. Okay, so the way we do that, and I think we can all try right now, because when I get talking, it's hard for me to stop, and some people could be falling asleep right now. So I'll help you wake up so you can endure the rest of the presentation. So it's really, really easy. We're focusing on breathing into the belly through our nose, and then pushing the belly, pushing the abdominal wall in to forcefully exhale. And so the inhale happens naturally. We're not sucking the air in, we're not pulling the air in. We just relax the belly and the air comes in, but then we want to contract the belly to push the air out. So it looks a little bit like this. Maybe you'll be able to see I have my hands on my belly, and I inhale through my nose, and then I push my belly in and exhale through my nose. So it's a sharp exhale, and hopefully you can hear me. And so I'm not inhaling actively, I'm just allowing for the inhale to happen. Okay, so for those that want to practice with me, let's do 5 or so rounds. We put our hands on the belly.
Just a quick question. So
Yeah.
you're exhaling forcefully?
You exhaling forcefully,
Okay.
you using the abdominal wall
Okay.
to draw in. I wasn't sure if people could see my,
Okay.
so you're exhaling forcefully, and then the inhale will just happen as a result of allowing the belly to relax. Okay, and doing 5 to 10 rounds of this will really activate the nervous system. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in through your nose and then sharply exhale. And then allow for the belly to expand and again sharply exhale. And then repeat a few more times. And when we get to a place where we feel like we need to reset, then we can just take a deep, long breath and reset, and then come back to this pumping breath. Yeah. Everyone able to experience that, and you guys feeling a little bit more energized and alive? Yeah. So we can always take a couple of moments with our coffee breath before we actually get to enjoy our cup of coffee. Okay. It's just really, really helpful. So we can use our breath in a number of different ways. We can use our breath to calm our nervous system. We can use our breath to stimulate our nervous system. A lot of the times when we are going through stress and unresolved trauma, we are our nervous system can have affinity more towards this sympathetic, this fight and flight, always on the go, always stress dominance, or it can have an affinity to kind of fall more into this freeze and withdraw and depressed and kind of numb. And it's difficult to motivate ourselves out of that. So doing this breath is also going to help to bring us from that shut down, numb state into more alive, active state. Okay, and a few more notes on a coffee. Coffee inhibits the release of our calming neurotransmitter. So definitely for people with anxiety, I would always recommend either get on decaf before you get off your coffee, or see if you can swap your coffee for something else that actually supports the production of GABA, which is the calming neurotransmitter, like green tea or matcha tea or pu'er tea. Okay, so a lot of different alternatives out there. You just need to find our favorite. So coffee. I think we all enjoy a cup of coffee, at least on occasions. I know I do. Okay. So since we are talking about nervous system regulation, I want to bring in something that we can use as a quick grounding with food. Because what do we usually do when we are stressed out? People have all sorts of tendencies to reach for the donut and get something sweet and chocolate and ice cream, right? We all watch these movies where they portray this perfectly when uh, after a heartbreak, the girl eats a whole tub of ice cream. Okay, and so that's going to maybe make us feel a little bit better for a moment, but in the long run, it's actually dysregulating our nervous system even further, and it's creating all sorts of inflammations in our body. And so, first of all, taking a couple of deep grounding breaths that you already all familiar with, and then drinking a glass of cold water. Cold water will start to tone that vagus nerve. That's so powerful in regulating our nervous system and sending our nervous system into this state of calm. Now, I wouldn't recommend drinking only cold water during your day because it can also slow down your digestion. But as a regulation tool, great first kind of first aid. And then making sure that you have something that's full of protein and healthy fats. Okay, like I usually hard boil a ton of eggs, and I have hard boiled eggs in my fridge. I always have avocados in my fridge. Um, Nuts are great as well, as long as they in a raw form. They've not been fried in pro-inflammatory oils and seasoned with bath salt. I love soaking nuts as well because it wakes up the enzymes within them and they become much more easily digestible. Okay, so just having a jar with handful of almonds or walnuts in the water in the fridge. It will last for a number of days, and they're really yummy. You can just replace the water every now and then with fresh water because they start releasing color from the skin. Really, really great. And of course, avoiding sugars, avoiding everything that's inflaming our system. Okay, oils like seed oils like canola and sunflower and peanut, all these oils out of the cupboard. Okay, and of course, no processed foods. So mindfully kind of planning your meals, making sure that you do your shopping to an extent that you have enough of fresh stuff at home, that you can prepare your meals. Nothing has to be super complex, right? Steam, roast, salad, love meat on the plancha, on the grill. Okay, so really important to know what's good for us, what will ground us in a moment as well. All right. Okay, so back to basics. Okay, we spoke about food, and I feel like we all know these steps, these things, but life happens and we don't end up implementing them. Like getting enough sleep. Okay, knowing that it's actually really highly beneficial. I work a lot with Chinese medicine in my practice. And so, according to the circadian rhythm and a Chinese medicine map, going to bed by before 11 p.m. is really the most beneficial time. Okay, anything after that, there's been a number of studies, and I've personally experienced that in myself, and I know a lot of my clients that it doesn't matter how many hours we sleep. If we go to bed after midnight, we are not getting our nervous system, our internal organs, our autonomic nervous system enough reset as it needs. So making sure that we are in bed by 11 p.m., preferably not on our phones. Preferably the phone is away by 10, and getting our sleep and rest. And then, of course, attending to all the conditions in the room, making sure it's not too hot, making sure there's no blue lights, all these things. Hydration. Okay, we all know we need to drink more water, really attending to proper hydration. Okay, the nervous system, when we are dehydrated, really suffers. Movement. Okay, we have been designed to move. Hunters gatherers. Now we don't need to hunt anything, we just gather everything from a supermarket. It requires some minimal effort. And so walking is great for our brain because the movement stimulates the contralateral hemisphere. So it allows the communication of our left and right hemisphere in our brain, which then allows for our brain to function from more of what we call in functional neurology whole brain state, and opens the possibility of us seeing life from a broader perspective rather than just from a logic or from an emotional perspective. So walking is really great, not just because it's moving your body, but it's also integrating your nervous system, your brain. Things like yoga, Pilates, or any low impact workouts. You know, I think we all here are at the age where high level of activity actually is counterindicative because it provokes cortisol release. So we want to be moving our body, but we also want to be mindful about it. And then, of course, introducing relaxation and meditation, spending time in nature. Nature is so grounding to our nervous system, so healing. Back to the sunlight, getting sunlight. And I think a really, really important thing here, and a lot of people have troubles with this from what I'm witnessing working with people one-on-one, is this communication with our own body, like learning to listen to what our body really needs. There's one of our senses is actually called interoception, and it's this communication of our nervous system with us, and it communicates through feelings and sensations and emotions. And so learning to attune to that wisdom of our body, because our body knows the best what's good for you to eat, when to go for a walk, when to take a rest, right? Like no practitioner, no doctor knows better than your own body. Our own body has this incredible pharmacy within that is actually not functioning properly because we are not allowing it's being blocked by unresolved stress and by our behaviors. And so really cultivating this curiosity to, oh, I'm craving chocolate. I wonder what that might mean. What do I need? Do I need magnesium? Do I need something else? Right? Oh, I'm craving chips or nachos. What does that mean? Do I need minerals? Do I need salt? Right? Can I get that somewhere else? And so really checking in. And here also what I'm finding that's really important to mention is we kind of tend to follow trends, right? Like right now for a while it's been Wim Hof and cold exposure and intermittent fasting and all of these things. Well, these trends don't often go into the details and they don't provide enough research about things like, well, long-term cold exposure or long-term intermittent fasting for women is actually not beneficial, right? Because women's bodies are working differently. And so what may be good for one person may not be good for the other. So before I get in to this new trend, I always want to check in with myself. Is this really good for me? And so listening, using a common sense as well, just not blindly following what's being prescribed out there, no matter how healthy it is. Okay, because drinking too much water, although water is good for us, is going to flush all of our minerals and it's not going to be good either. Okay, and of course, limiting alcohol. I have a fun fact here when it comes to nervous system and health. If we do want to have a glass of something, red wine is supposedly the healthiest because it has high content of antioxidants. And those grape varieties, which are like Malbec and Cabernet Sauvignon and Shiraz, because of the thickness of the skin on the grape, are supposedly the highest antioxidant wines. So, but having said that, again, the processing is important, right? What kind of vineyard does it come from? So all these things play a role. All right, any questions here? All right. So I have a couple of regulation. Yes, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Um, for I wondered if you can give us any recommendations for naturopaths, because that's something I've looked for years and haven't found a really excellent one. And
Yeah, I personally cannot give you a recommendation. I will try to contact a lady that I have known in the past and see if she's still working. And you know, with a good naturopath, I feel like remote session would be valid as well because they just need to get to know you and then refer you for a blood test and translate those. So I will definitely look into that.
thank you. And one other question was about the milks. You didn't mention any kind of alternative milks, and I'm wondering, I'm really conflicted about what to, because like you get the higher protein with the cow's milk, but people have said, yeah, if you want to, gain a lot of weight and so on, then drink cow's milk. And I get confused. And so,
Alternative milks, you know, anything that's out there that doesn't have a long ingredient list. Okay, always try to look at the ingredients. I always say to people, if the list is too long or you don't understand any of the words, it's probably not great. I would definitely avoid soy because unfermented soy is, definitely not great for our system. But anything like almond milk or oat milk or coconut milk, again, trying to find a cleanest alternative. You know, usually I used to live in Spain and oat milk used to just be oats and water. here I look at oat milk and it's like 50 different ingredients and oils in it. So looking for more natural alternatives as well. Or goat milk, goat milk is much more easily digestible for humans than cow milk itself. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. Okay, so when we're looking at actual tools outside of diet to regulate our nervous system, there is a breath technique called the physiological sight, and it's been heavily researched in the neuroscientist community, and they claim it to be the fastest way to regulate our nervous system. It's actually something our body does automatically when we are in distress. Okay, it's just if you think about someone, or maybe remembering your experience of heavy sobbing and crying, when we get to the place where our nervous system is so dampened, then we tend to take 2 breaths in and then exhale. There's this. And so the physiological side is just this. We inhale through our nose, we take a full deep breath into our ribcage and the lower belly. And then on the top of that first inhale, we sip in a little bit more breath through our nose. We top that inhale up with second inhale. And then we exhale through our mouth and we allow the body to fully relax. Okay, so it looks a little bit like this. Okay, it's really helpful, fast regulating in the moment. So first aid. But we can also create our practice from this breath. It's called cyclic breathing, and work on it regularly and start implementing it and building in time. So maybe first day, we use this and we repeat this type of breathing for a minute, and then we slowly build up the time. And the literature shows that if this is practiced 5 minutes per day, it has tremendous influence on the neuroplasticity of our nervous system. Okay, and again, like with everything, like with supplements, like with everything, all these practices, if there is a medical condition, heart issues, always consult or practice while you being supervised, making sure that you're not creating any harm, okay? Not pushing too much, too far. So really, really, really powerful way of regulating in the moment, but also if we commit to regular practice, which in my opinion doesn't have to be 5 minutes a day. It's enough to sit and do 2 minutes. And then you naturally may be able to build up with comfort, okay? You don't want to push through too much discomfort. So super, super great. And it's basically just rediscovering that the body's been doing this naturally all along. It's also really great for hiccups. If you find yourself with the hiccups, this will take it away. And it's also really great for runner's stitch. Okay, so those who get out there and do cardio and maybe experience that runner's stitch, which is usually experienced on the right rib cage, this will also release this. All right, and then I have one more for you, and then we can practice or talk. So I practice energy medicine, and one of the techniques in energy medicine is called the switching technique. And here we are basically working on helping the brain to find a healthy or optimal stress threshold. Okay, we all have a different threshold of stress. I'm sure that you all know the person that gets stressed out for no reason. And then there are the people that go till they hit the wall and they burn out, and then they need a week to recover. So this is to train the brain to kind of start letting us know when to take a break. When do we need to have a glass of water? When do we need something to eat, for example? Because when we are on a low blood glucose, the brain wants to shut down too. So this switching basically means it's adaptive mechanism. It's a protective mechanism of our brain. When we are about to do too much, the brain wants to protect us, and it will get confused. We get really tired. Some of the symptoms are being enabled to concentrate, not remembering things, poor reading comprehension, having to read one paragraph 5 times, confusing things, confusing left and right, feeling irritable, and then all of these little self-sabotaging behaviors as well. So with this, regularly practicing this, it will help to shift this stress threshold into more optimal way. And with that, helps us listen a little bit more acutely, I would hope to say, to when do we need to take a break. Okay, and so it's really, really simple as well. Here we are working with acupuncture, acupressure points. That is actually a kidney meridian point, which kidneys, another great thing about is kidneys hold a vital chi, vital energy that support all of our organs, but it also hold a lot of our fears. Okay? In Chinese medicine, kidney energy is associated with our fears. And so working on freeing and optimizing this channel is going to be helpful with helping relieve stress. It's also going to help to support our respiratory system, which respiration, we all know it's great for regulating of our nervous system. And it's also going to support our hormonal system. Okay, when we are in a stress, hormones are all upside down, cortisol is too high, and everything else is not functioning properly. I will guide you through this. I just want to say a couple of more things because we are contacting the K27, so the kidney meridian, which is just under the clavicles. But we will also be contacting our eyelids. And so we're going to be pressing, I usually guide people to use one hand on our eyelids. And the reason being here is because the eyes are really strongly connected to centers in our brain that hold on to stress. Okay, we all probably familiar with techniques like EMDR, where the therapist uses eye movements. Here we are working with the stress receptors, so we're pushing onto the muscles of the eyes and communicating with the brain that way. Okay, we will only be giving the eyes as much pressure as needed for us to see dancing lights. So it's not a lot of pressure. We just want to kind of stimulate the stretch reflex in the eye muscles, and then usually what happens, people see like little dancing lights. And so we stimulate those two areas in our body, and then we implement it by integrating. In energy medicine, we work with 3 brains. Okay, we all, and now neuroscience is also understanding this. We have 3 brains. We have the cognitive brain, we have our emotional brain, our heart, and we have our intuitive brain, our gut, so in our belly. Okay, and a lot of the times, these structures, these are energetically disconnected. And so we find ourselves being just in our head or just in our heart. And very few occasions, people are only intuitive. We are very cut off from our gut feeling, from our intuition. And so by tapping, we stimulating, we reconnecting those 3 brains, the communication within the 3 brains. Okay, so we're gonna be using tapping as well. Gently tapping is just, we are electromagnetic beings. We working with the electromagnetic field of the body. Okay, and so the technique is really simple. We find those 2 hollow wings under our clavicles. And again, I like to direct people to use one hand so we have the other hand is free. And usually it's highly possible. So you go down onto your bone here and then you slide down. And there's a soft hollowing down below our clavicle. And you may find that there's a little tenderness in one spot or another. Just another indication that the nervous system really needs that. When you locate your K27s down below the bone here, okay, then you can contact them with one hand, thumb, and forefinger. And once you have it, just jiggle, jiggle, bring energy awareness in here. And then from here, we can press on the eyelids. Before you do that, after we press on the eyelids, we keep the eyes closed. And then that hand that was contacting the eyes will tap our 3 brains. And we will bring in deep belly breathing. So,
did you want to stop the screen share just so people can see you better?
Good idea. Good idea. Here we go. Okay, so we have our K27. Jiggle, jiggle, bring awareness, bring energy in there. And then we can close our eyes. We gently contact our eyelids and just gently press in till we start seeing dancing lights. And this is a great moment for us to connect to anything that we are dealing with, any stress, any issues. And then start bringing a deep breath into the belly. And then slowly we keep the eyes closed, but we let go of the hand that's holding the eyelids and we start tapping on the top of our head. So nice, gentle tapping. It's covering both sides of the brain. We want the left and right side of the brain to wake up. And then we go and we tap over our breastbone. So we waking up that emotional heart, emotional brain. Keeping the eyes closed if possible. Taking a deep breath in, allowing the breath to fall away on the exhale. And then we tap on the belly, the gut brain, that intuitive side of our nervous system. Taking a deep belly breath in. And let's do one more round of tapping. So coming back on the top of the head, just gently tapping the brain, taking a deep breath in here. And then tapping over the heart, that emotional brain, the breastbone. So it's more in the center of the chest than over the actual heart. And then the last time, tapping over the gut brain. And again, taking deep belly breaths here. And then when you feel complete, letting go of the hands and just taking as much time as you need to come back to the room. Just noticing how your system feels, how your body, how your mind feel. How your breath moves through the body. No hurry, no rush, just taking your time to come back in and opening the eyes whenever you're ready. All right. How is everyone feeling? How are you guys doing after doing a couple of rounds of reset?
That was good. Yeah, I feel like really there's no thoughts going on. I feel very present. And yeah, you're right. It's the three brains. I feel like they're absolutely connected right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really simple, but very powerful. We often look for things that we got to do something bigger than simple things for them to be effective. Yeah. It's a regularity, it's the practice, it's the commitment to doing things every day.
How are you feeling, June?
Yeah, it's stimulating. So it's really nice. You were talking about caffeine, the impulse to go to caffeine or something like that, whereas we can do these simple things and feel stimulated naturally.
Yeah, it's great, and I don't want to take coffee from anyone because it tastes delicious, but we also don't have to rely on it, right? Like we can just use it as something like a treat.
Well, if you like it for the taste, then you can drink decaf.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
personally have never drank it because I don't like the taste of it. But, I think most people drink it because they're addicted to it, not because of the taste.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the kidneys are, from what I hear, like the batteries of our bodies, right? They're
They
just,
are.
if we
Yeah.
can get to that, maybe just kind of do that in the morning before we get
Yeah.
up, get us going. Yeah.
Yeah, and just stimulating those 2 points as well, right? Like if I am somewhere where I don't want to be tapping on my head, first of all, I can just imagine tapping on my head because it's all energy, right? Just you guys, if you do it number of times at home, then your nervous system, your energy body is already accustomed to that. So you can just think about that. But
Yes,
also just holding those 2 points and taking deep breaths is already going to help that meridian, that kidney chi. Yeah.
yes. This is very important to the work that we do. And, I was talking to Paul the other day about the work that we do and how we are bringing in the somatic part of dealing with unresolved trauma and stuff like that. So, because, I mean, I guess our practice is basically mindfulness based. We're inquiring into our unconscious content, and then we're giving a lot of attention to what's happening somatically. So we're doing all of that. And this really supports all of that if we're going to be watching our diet for nervous system purposes. Yeah, it makes total sense. And I like what you said about 30 different plants because I practice having, 30 different plants, at least 30 in a week, and even sometimes in a day I've had 30 different plants, a little bit, because plants being right, would you say that plants are vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, and all of that?
Yeah.
So if I'm eating a whole grain, I'll eat a whole grain piece of bread that has 15 different plants in it. There you go.
Okay.
You eat a salad with a few vegetables and a little thing of mixed fruit with some yogurt. You've got your whole week supply in one day. And just if you do that every day, yeah, you can definitely tell the difference in how you feel.
I like that way of thinking. I've never thought about it because I don't buy anything that's processed. So I make everything at home and that I teach people to try to lean towards that. But I like this way of thinking that you can buy a bread that has 15 different grains in it.
Yeah, it's and it's all whole grains and they're sprouted and stuff. So,
Great.
yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
But other than that, yes, I do too. And the way the grocery store is laid out, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you just go kind of around the outer part of the grocery store to get all the fresh foods and very rarely go into the middle of the
Yeah.
store because
Yeah.
that's where all the processed foods are.
I like that. I like that. So we could ban people from entering the middle of the store. It's a process of their healing.
I got a question. Can you eat too much of the fermented sauerkraut? Can you eat too much of that? Because my daughter loves to eat it and she'll just
It's
want to
not
have
gonna
more.
hurt you,
Okay.
like it could upset your system in a way where, she might get a diarrhea, but that's just
Hmm.
a message of, okay, you need to dial back. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. That's really great thing that she likes that. Yeah.
Well, it's one of the few things that she likes that's good for her. But yeah.
Well, that's great, right? Like I would rather her or anyone
Hmm.
having some life cultures
Yeah.
than worrying about anything else because it's so crucial to our gut.
Hmm.
And what about kefir? You didn't mention kefir.
Yeah, kefir is great too. Like for years, um, I traveled recently, so my kefir grains kind of died. But I make butter kefir as well. So, we can buy yogurt kefir,
Yeah.
or there is a number of websites actually. I don't remember the one that I got mine from. I'm sure we can buy water grain kefir in the health stores now, but there were websites before where people were just gifting their kefir grains because it proliferates so fast, and then people don't know what to do with it. So they were just saying, I'm based here, over there, and I have these grains if you guys want to come over and get some. So kefir is a great
Yeah,
probiotic.
for people that don't like sauerkraut, the kefir is a good way to go because it can taste better. I like sauerkraut. What about pickled vegetables and stuff like that?
You will have to do that at home, I think, because the pickling process is mainly just salt and
But it's easy to pickle your own food.
yes.
Yes.
And then they pasteurize it. So any bacteria that it might have had is killed in the process of pasteurizing. So I'm more pro
Make your own.
these ferments, yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to make my own kefir, but I had stopped. But the trick to it to make it even taste better is to get a slice of orange and then put that in there while it's fermenting, and you get that orange type flavor in there.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
We used to double ferment, so I would ferment the kefir grains with when I lived in Asia with coconut water. Here it was always water with sugar. And then when it was fully ready, I would separate it and put it in another fermenting glass with some fruit juice. And then I would double ferment it. So it was like a sparkling lemonade.
Mm.
Yeah, really
Wow.
delicious. Yeah, it requires a little bit of a homesteading.
Yeah, it does. Does anybody have any questions that came up?
Well, I had so many questions as we went through, and,
Mhm.
and I marked a lot of places, but now I'm just so late, just so relaxed, I can't think. But I really appreciated this so much. It's so many things just were something I needed to hear. And I'm just worried about interpreting all that I tried to write down. And and the points you were saying here, I used to do all this tapping and all, and I haven't in recent years, but I think tapping is so good. But I was wanting you to just to refer which place on the chest.
So if you find your collarbones, right, there's two bones that we have here, and you just slide down, you come to the middle, and then you just slide under. There's a softer hollowing down there. It's just right under your collarbone, right here. Okay, so you on the bone, you towards the middle edges of the bone, and then you just slide down, and you land on two soft little places. And if you were to go a little lower, that's your first rib. Okay, so then there's a rib here, and there's a little hollowing right there. And sometimes you'll find it a little tender. And so just a gentle stimulation here.
That was good the way you explained that, because I think I was a little further up from it, but yeah, I could feel like two
Just
little holes
down,
there. Yeah.
yeah, just down the bone. And then if you go further, there's the rib. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And do you do individual sessions with people?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a energy medicine practice. I work a lot with the subconscious mind and the nervous system. A lot with applied kinesiology principles. So there are times where we will work on unresolved stress and trauma, but there are also times where we work directly with the autonomic nervous system, and then we work on resetting the functionality of whatever it may be. Maybe it's the digestive tract and the organs of the digestive tract, and then there is a part of the protocol that addresses supplementation, but it's not. I'm unable to tell you exactly what your blood test would be like if you go and if you have a full screening. I do tend to send people for a general screening, so we also have some general idea what's going on and
So I would like to know where to go for a screening.
Oh, you would just go to your regular doctor and get
general screen, yeah.
just a general screening of all those different things she had up there
My
for
regular
deficiencies.
primary doctor in Kaiser.
Yeah, they'll do.
I mean, you probably have it once a year anyway, right? I know I do. I have the whole full screening, like 100 things have been checked.
Yeah. They, in the normal screening, they will check all of these things, you know. I think you might need to request specifically some of the minerals, but you know, it's easy enough to call your doctor and say, I want to get my B vitamins and my D and my zinc and selenium and all of these things checked. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I'll
I
send
was
you her
wondering-
information, Luann. So
What?
I'll send you her information.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can make that available to
Everybody, yeah.
everybody. I wanted to see what what you would have to say, since, you know, you have a program for women and food, and how this was for you as far as how it connected to what you're already doing with women and food.
You know, what I'm doing with women and food is really not so much about specific foods. It's about our relationship to eating.
Mhm.
And really, the main idea of it is how we eat is how we live in general. So if we're eating fast and watching the news, not paying attention to our food, we don't digest well. And when I've really gotten looking at this connection in my own life, I was amazed to realize that how I generally had been living was in a state of anxiety and pressure. And I think it's rampant in our culture. You know, do more, achieve more. And it's a very restless space. And so this program is all about really tuning in to how we eat and how we generally live. And it's gotten me to slow way down and to rest more in awareness, be more mindful about every bite and everything I take on in my day.
Mhm.
You know, so that's more what it's about.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we explore individually how the different foods affect us. And
Mhm.
I've been a long-time student of Ayurveda. And one thing I want to mention, what I've learned about yogurt from one of my favorite Ayurvedic doctors, is in the West, we have the tendency to think if something's good for us, then more is better. And how yogurt is presented in our culture is with sugar and fruit and all kinds of additives in it.
Mhm.
And people tend to eat a whole cupful at one time. And what I was taught is that a couple of tablespoons of basic, really good yogurt as a side to our meal is the most we should ever have, just a couple of tablespoons. And I was told it's one of the most clogging foods. You know, so to eat a lot of it at once can really clog various channels in the body. I'm curious what you think about that, Alena.
I definitely agree with you, right? Just natural yogurt without sugars, additives. Like it's so important to read the labels. I'm still surprised coming from Europe, you know, where food is a little bit more natural, to
Yes.
read the labels here in the States and, you know, how much stuff is added to everything. So yeah, everything, you know, that we can't understand if the ingredient list is too long, I tend to say to people, just stay away from it. And so definitely agree with it, right? Like natural, really good quality yogurt. And also, right, even the things that are good for us, if we have too much, it's not good.
Mhm.
So yeah, a couple of tablespoons, not a full cup a day. Yeah, that's a really good point. Really great observation.
Thank you so much for your whole program. Yeah.
Pleasure, pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very thorough and some of the things I didn't realize, so I learned a lot. Really
Right.
appreciate it. Yeah, it was
And
great.
I just remembered that I forgot to include one of very important things that is always in my kitchen, because talking about the difference between Europe and here in the States, salad dressings. I'm horrified when I see people's fridges and there's this commercial salad dressing in the door, or five of them. And so raw apple cider vinegar. I make a really simple vinaigrette, which is raw apple cider vinegar, honey, olive oil, maybe mustard, and shake it up. And it's ready to go, and it's healthy and it's delicious. And yeah.
I needed to hear that.
Would you repeat those ingredients?
Yeah, raw apple cider vinegar, honey, if you like a little honey in it, a little bit of yellow mustard, and olive oil.
I have all that. Gonna try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I know when I first started pursuing health food, it felt very uncomfortable to notice that in any store I would go to or any restaurant I would go to, there was maybe 1% of the items that were healthy. And it's just gotten to be a part of life now, So if I go to a restaurant, and I usually go to expensive restaurants, if I go out to eat, I always know I'm going to find one thing, probably one thing, because chefs do try to offer one healthy meal on their menu. And it's just, I've gotten used to that. It's like, what's the one thing in this place I can eat that's healthy?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me anymore. It used to bother me, but now I'm just used to it.
Yeah. And, it's such a good point, because sometimes we get kind of imprisoned even in, like we get into healthy eating and then we feel like we limit it by life. And so to Sumitra's point, it's about the relationship with our food. And so, the fact that we may not eat as healthy once a week or, it's okay. We live in a Western society that's it's not perfect, and so the intention is what counts. And beating ourselves up for going to a restaurant and not being able to be nourished in a way that we would like to, it's going to be counterindicative too. So just really working with whatever it is we have, if we are able to at home really cater to being nourished and buying the right foods and eating with the right attitude and taking a moment to disconnect from everything can bring gratitude to our plate. Yeah.
Cooking is a lot of fun. At
Yeah.
least I find it fun. It's very
Yeah,
creative.
I do too.
And it doesn't have to be complex, right? Like it can be
Mhm.
so simple. It can be so simple.
I got an air fryer for my for Christmas, and I've been using that a lot. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So June, did you want to talk a little bit about some of our program that just opened up today?
Yeah, enrollment has opened for our personal processing program, the small group program. I'm talking to a couple of people about it that are interested in enrolling in it. We can take we could easily take 6 people, so maybe up to 9. It depends. I haven't talked to all of our facilitators yet to see who's ready to take a small group. But for anybody that has already completed the personal processing program or the KI personal mentorship program, we're offering a certified facilitator training program. If you want to work with others, you can become a facilitator and start working with others. And then now we're starting to focus on psychedelic integration work and how well our tools work along with that. So we've got, you know, actually 60% of our enrollees when we opened up enrollment in January are all interested in psychedelic integration, working with others. So we are just really happy about how well our tools go along with psychedelic, because we're using our tools prior to, and we're going to be offering a retreat, an in-person retreat in November. And so if the way, depending on how that goes, we're thinking about maybe offering 5 in-person retreats in 2025. I meant to say 4, 5 came out of my mouth. So we'll see, right?
Okay.
But what we'll do is we'll be practicing our tools together on via Zoom for 4 weeks prior to the retreat, so that everybody is getting accustomed to the tools and getting to know one another. And then we go on the retreat and we have our experiences at the retreat, and then we're going to have post-retreat 4 weekly meetings as well for integration purposes. So we're excited. We don't really see a lot of people offering all of the prep work and the integration work after these retreats. And so we're excited about that. So our small group program really complements the retreat experience as well.
It does.
So if anybody is interested and wants to maybe meet with me, we can get together and talk about it.
Thanks,